911 operators of Reddit, what are some of the funniest things someone has called in for? I only worked dispatch for a few months and I got a call for a fish being stuck in a woman's ear. Babelfish? No longer a 911 operator, but I had two. First one when a young man realized what happens to some women during the first time. He thought he poked something and hurt her. Second was when a man and a woman were getting hot and heavy, he ended up getting junk stuck inside of a Gatorade bottle. Getting his junk stuck wasn't funny, it's a serious medical concern and could result in emergency surgery, but his SO yelling in the background about how he could have just asked for a blow job and she would have given it literally killed me throughout the call. Edit. Two more. I had another one where a hooker butt dialed me. I was new to the sheriff's office at the time and thought she was in distress with the moans I heard on the phone. That was the welcome to this job call. It used to be very frequent back in the 2010s because holding a key would call 911 on your phone. There was also a man named Wayne who would call and tell us the craziest stories in existence. Many of them were funny, but ultimately, it was sad at the same time as we were the only people who would pick up when he called. I had a guy call in on 911 because he was concerned about a seagull he thought was injured in a Chipotle restaurant parking lot. Apparently while on the phone, he tried to pick up or check on the bird, at which point the bird started squawking, then he started freaking out and I started having trouble telling them apart. Then there I could hear what might have been wings flapping, a brief silence, and suddenly the guy started hyperventilating and screaming he needed an ambulance because he was having a heart attack and that the bird flew off. I wasn't sure if he was being serious, so I got him over to EMS as a precaution. Upon transfer and getting EMS on the line, he got very quiet and said, "I think I'm okay, I'll call you back later," and hung up and would not answer on callback. I still wonder about Steven Seagal when I drive by a Chipotle. Edit. On Snap, you guys, I never thought people would even see this one, so thank you for those and nice shiny awards. Also, some PSAs for calling 911. These are not law, nor of a specific agency, so always check with your agency. If you call on accident, please stay on the line. It's okay, you won't get in trouble if it's just once or twice, but it creates an abandoned 911 call and we have to call back to confirm you're okay. The questions we ask are important. The answers help us determine the type of aid to send and the priority of the call. Do not assume we know everything or where you are based on your phone's location. That tech doesn't always work. Help us help you, please. If it's not safe to be seen on the phone, just keep an open line and make it clear you are in distress. We can try to track you down if the line is open long enough and you are near enough cell towers. The more towers, the better the location. Also, some agencies have text to 911. Do not say someone has a weapon unless you saw that weapon. If you are assuming someone has a weapon because of something they said, tell us exactly that and why you think that. Don't say someone has a weapon because they look like they could. If they presented one, simulated one, or reached for their waistband, tell us what they did, not what you think it means. A good dispatcher should ask clarifying questions always, but some just take what the caller says and rolls with it. This is how people get hurt. Your words carry weight on a 911 call. Be honest. If you don't know, say that you don't know. If your dispatcher is rude, mistreats you, or you feel they failed to take action, say something. Ask to speak to their supervisor. How can they be disciplined if their superior is not notified? We are trained to deal with people in distress and people who are verbally abusive, but we should never be verbally abusive back or mistreat people because we don't like their attitude. It's not an excuse for people to be jerks on the phone, because some agencies permit you to hang up if you are unable to get anywhere with the caller after multiple attempts or you have enough information to make a call. That said, bad dispatchers exist just as bad officers do. We need to weed them out so that we can help people to the best of our capabilities regardless of their race/gender/age/social class/beliefs. I just certified as a call taker and got mandated for overtime, of course, on my first shift. Policy was if someone insisted they saw something, we take it as face value and enter the call. Well, this lady called me just after midnight and swore she saw a chupacabra on the west side of Orlando and insisted in an officer doing an area check. Not too long after that, a coworker was in on his night off and left the building. He called 2 minutes later saying he saw a kangaroo hopping down the street. I can't make this crap up. I've had to call animal control about a chupacabra that was killing all the chickens in my neighborhood. I had caught a glimpse of it a few days before in my backyard and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Then I saw it walking down the street in broad daylight and was able to catch a picture and confirm that I wasn't crazy. They told me they had tons of calls about it and to tell all my neighbors to lock up our chickens, bring in any outside animal food, and that they had live traps set for it all over. Spoiler alert, it was a coyote completely bald from mange and so skinny you would never recognize it. I was glad they already had calls about it. I knew it was not okay whatever it was, but I had no idea how to describe it aside from El Chupacabra. Thankfully, they knew exactly what I was talking about. That's pretty much the accepted belief of what a chupacabra actually is, aside from those that actually believe in them. Basically feral dogs, wolves, or coyotes that have very bad mange, and possibly rabies in some cases. My dad used to be in charge of the 911 call center. One particular story I remember was in like '09. Some guy called asking how much weed he could have in his car while driving through the state. They went back and forth for maybe 20 minutes of the guy repeating and rephrasing the question and my dad just responding none. None. The answer is none. There are funny calls that come in all the time. I talked to a pizza delivery guy who couldn't reach his destination because a defiant chicken was standing in the middle of the road. I stayed with him on the phone as he pleaded with it to finally move along. Truly a chicken crossing the road moment. Another time I took a call where a guy insisted he was in an argument with a man dressed as a giant Pepsi bottle. He said the man in the Pepsi suit had stolen his debit card and refused to give it back. Upon arrival, the officers told me he was high as crap and arguing with a vending machine. That's just what the man dressed as the Pepsi vending machine wanted the officers to think. In his defense, that Pepsi bottle has stolen from me too. When I was a fire dispatcher, I had to send a squad to remove a cock ring. So there's that. I'm just trying to visualize how they managed to get that off the poor bastard. Did they use bolt cutters or something? They just blasted him with cold water from the hose until it fell off. This is true, that's one way. Not because it happened to me, but because a friend had his stuck in. A questionable place. Edit. Okay, F it, apparently y'all too thirsty for the explanation. My friend, I swear, it wasn't me. I'm not a effing idiot when I'm trying to get along with people, got into a university frat, and the initiation rite was, well, you guessed it, putting your dick inside a effing jar with a tarantula inside. Why? Tarantulas are harmless, I think they are. His dick didn't get bitten, so I'm guessing here. The point was to get your shaft in, you had to be hard for that to work well, letting the bug crawl on it for a bit and then retire it. According to his brain, he had the brilliant idea of stuffing the balls too. Of course, he couldn't get them out and the glass couldn't be broken or he would cut his dick. The solution came by putting the jar under cold water. It shrunk and it got out. Now that you've brought it up, we want to know what kind of questionable place it was. I'm guessing a jar. It's terrifying how correct yet how wrong you are. I briefly worked as a 911 operator. When someone called on the non-emergency line, we always answered the same way: blank police and fire. This is a recorded line. How can I help you? We get a call on that line. I answer as usual, and a very inebriated sounding woman asks the following. Hypothetically speaking, if my boyfriend had a few grams of cocaine and I called the police to tell them about it, would either of us get into any trouble? Ma'am, you're calling the police on a recorded line. I know, but what does the law say? I don't know, ma'am. I'm not a police officer, and would you like me to send one? Yes, please. She gives me her address. An officer responded, but there were no arrests. That one had me scratching my head. Well, she did say it was hypothetical. There were no arrests. She told you it was hypothetical. Had a grown man calling in about a monster trying to get into his son's room. He's the right kind of frantic where I know it's not a mental health crisis, but I still couldn't figure it out. Well, he's a Middle Eastern male with a real thick accent and I was having a hard time understanding, so he gave the phone to his son. The monster had climbed a tree and was at his bedroom window. And it was as big as his dog. And it has hands like him but tiny. Wait, what? Right there, I told the kid to see if it had rings on his tail. Yes. They had just moved to America a month ago, and had never heard of raccoons. I couldn't mute myself fast enough, and the father heard me laughing. I think that's what helped calm him down. I explained what a trash panda was and welcomed him to our wild jungle. Edit, holy crap. I broke my phone shortly after posting this and just saw it all. Thanks everyone. Not a 911 call, but I had to teach my lovely Middle Eastern neighbors not to allow their children to play with a really cute black and white cat in their yard. And to run if it started to do a handstand. When I lived in a homeless shelter for a few years, there was an all-white skunk that lived under the porch at one point. I kept mistaking it for a cat and getting way too close for comfort. Oh, that's adorable. Honestly, if I'm terrified and I'm calling 911 and the operator laughs, there isn't a better sign that I'm probably safe and sound with nothing to worry about, assuming my rational brain is able to think in the moment. Lizard brain would likely forget the operator has seen/heard everything under the sun, and laughter should be taken as a sign that things are fine, rather than a sign that the operator isn't taking a crisis seriously. Like when I had to call poison control when my 15-month-old daughter ate an entire tube of toothpaste in 30 seconds. Just sucked it up like a minty yogurt pack. After they stopped laughing, they told me she might have a tummy ache but she'd be fine. Lol. As a fellow parent, I understand the children get into crap and eat weird crap thing. And I also understand the immeasurable amount of fear when you're worried your child might have really hurt themselves. And lastly, I, too, am familiar with the instant relief when someone more experienced assures me my child will be just fine. I have to say though, your description of the toothpaste incident is an absolute gutbuster. I'm just imagining my child going slurp followed by her shocked look at the taste and I'm effing dying. A man requiring extrication from an Under Armour insulated shirt. His shoulder popped out of the socket while he was pulling it on. It was halfway on/halfway off and his arm was locked and dislocated. Edited to add, so you don't think I'm awful, he was laughing, and said, I would have driven myself to the hospital but I would have had to drive with my arm out the window. Wow, this happened to me when I was in dance class a few years back. I was wearing a sports bra and my leotard. When I got to the hospital, they cut me out of both because I was also stuck, then relocated my shoulder. Was bummed to lose that Leo. Also, that man was tougher than I was, I certainly wasn't laughing. Also, that man was tougher than I was, I certainly wasn't laughing. As the husband of someone who can sublux half her joints on command and has probably dislocated a few more than a dozen times in her life, it's not unlikely that he'd done it so many times prior that he was either used to the pain or didn't feel it as much anymore. Numerous calls where someone has handcuffed themselves to a SO during coitus and lost the key. If it's not busy, this seems to draw most available officers. Not me but a coworker. A person was pleasuring themselves with the handle of a scissors and it got stuck. Scissor me timbers. I hope someone explained to this person what scissoring actually refers to. Last week I had to tell my boss what scissoring is. I used my hands and made eye contact. It was a fine moment. Especially since, we're both women. I was in a really weird therapy group years ago run by two therapists, best friends who were around my mother's age, mid-50s. One day they decided we had to have a bonding activity. It was already a group where they made us lunch every week and we all ate together, so they planned a movie night and insisted I bring Cards Against Humanity because they'd heard it was lots of fun. I told them it was really inappropriate and they just waved me off with "we know things and your generation didn't invent bad words," etc. And that is how I ended up having to explain fleshlights and pixelated bukkake to two horrified 50-somethings while my fellow group members died laughing. The pixelating might be the most difficult part of that explanation. Okay, so now they have a stinger of sorts. A little kid called 911 because he wanted the cops to come arrest his brother. You see, their mom said that the caller's brother was supposed to share the Legos, but he wasn't sharing. The caller's brother said that he was playing with all of the Legos, which wasn't possible. There were too many Legos for one person to play with all of them at once, argued our caller. Therefore, his brother was a liar, a jerk, and a turd and we needed to come and arrest him. We had a high degree of confidence that this wasn't a coded request for help, so we asked to speak to an adult, confirmed that there was no distress and closed the case. Share your Legos, Kids. P.S. If your kid ever calls 911, don't get mad at them. We want them to call 911 if they think they should. We would much rather have them call 911 for something silly than have them not call when they should because they're afraid they'll get in trouble. I accidentally called twice. Once in first grade when we learned about it and I was practicing, but my practicing used too much force and dialed. Then I did it once at my grandma's house, but that was not my fault at all. I went into her room for a legitimate reason, flipped the light switch, it didn't work. I tried it a few more times, and then found another switch. Then I found out the light switch was a 911 alert, which is a stupid way to make it. I hid under the bed when the police arrived. There's a reason people invented long pull cords and wearable bracelets for senior emergencies, so if you fall and can't get up, you can still call for help rather than, gazing up helplessly at the button on the wall. Putting it next to the light switch, even, so you're guaranteed to hit the wrong one at least once, when tired, stressed, drunk, whatever. Was there a third button that shot poison deadly darts at the person, too? Light, 911, nuclear launch, garbage disposal? Can I just say, if you know anyone with a wearable lifeline, please explain to them it's okay to use them. I work in elder care, and I've found so many old people sprawling on the floor who can't get up and have been there for hours even though they could have pushed that damned button, or stuck in tubs and can't get out, but it's either well, I didn't want to cause a stir or I wanted to try myself first. Last one is fair, but not for hours, Olga. Equally, a lot of them leave them somewhere thinking they'll be fine, were the damn thing. My sister still talks about the time that she and our cousin were home with the babysitter. They called 911 because the babysitter was being mean. She was just being an experienced babysitter, and not bowing to their every whim. Police came. My mom was called in from work from 45 minutes away. I don't think that anyone was upset, but they certainly weren't amused. I was a 911 dispatcher years ago but had two specific calls that still make me laugh. 1. A frazzled mother called because her 6-year-old had gotten into the roof and she couldn't get him down. She kept screaming about how we need to hurry, not because she was worried he would get hurt, but because he had done the before and last time, he peed in the air vents. 2. This was before weed was legal in my state, but a college kid called asking for an ambulance. He was super worried that he was having an allergic reaction to the weed he just smoked. When asked about his symptoms he said, "I just can't stop eating Cheetos." Cheetos are hard to stop eating even when you don't smoke weed. Can confirm. Source: I've never used weed and I could eat an entire large bag of Cheetos if I don't pace myself. When asked about his symptoms he said, "I just can't stop eating Cheetos." You're fine, kid, it's working normally. The real issue begins when you run out of Cheetos. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.